Moonlit Dynasty. These are the old stories, the ones that traveled 10,000 years to reach you tonight. Chapter 1. The invitation to rest. Find a comfortable position. If you need to adjust, shift your pillow, pull your blanket a little closer. Do that now. Take your time. Good. Now let your body grow still. Let your hands rest, open and soft, wherever they fall naturally. Let your jaw unclench. Let the space behind your eyes soften. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Hold it gently for just a moment, and release. Again, in and out. Feel your body sink a little deeper with each breath. The bed beneath you is solid. It holds you completely. You don't need to hold yourself up tonight. You can let go of that. With your next breath, I want you to imagine that you are standing somewhere very old, not a place from your own life. Something older than that. The air is cool and clean. It smells of pine resin and wet stone and something else. Something sweet and ancient you have no name for. The sky above you is enormous, pale grey, shading to soft rose at the horizon, where the sun has not yet risen. It is the earliest part of morning, the hour before the world begins. Beneath your feet, the ground is packed earth, soft with years of fallen pine needles. Each step you take makes almost no sound. Around you, ancient trees rise up on all sides. Their trunks are wide enough that 5 people could not reach their arms around them. Their branches hold the mist like cupped hands. You're not afraid here. You've been here before, in some deep part of your memory you can't quite reach when you're awake. This place knows you. In the distance, so far away it might almost be imagined, you can hear water. Not a river, something larger, a low, constant sound, a rhythm, something vast, breathing. You don't need to move toward it yet. Just stand here for a moment. Breathe this air. Feel the cool morning on your skin. Tonight, I am going to tell you a story. It comes from a book called the Jingwei Tianhai, the classic of mountains and seas. One of the oldest texts in the Chinese world. Written in a time when the boundary between the human and the mythological was not yet decided. It is a story about a girl and the sea that took her, and what she became. There is no rush. We have all the time in the world tonight. Let your breathing slow a little more, and let the story begin. Chapter 2. The world before memory. In the very beginning, before dynasties, before cities, before the written word had learned to hold the names of things, there was a world that worked differently than ours. The mountains were younger then. They hadn't yet settled into the shapes we know. They shifted in their sleep, like living things, and sometimes, on quiet nights, you could hear them breathing. The rivers ran with cold so pure that drinking from them felt like swallowing light. The forests were deep, not dark in a frightening way, deep in the way that a deep silence is peaceful, full of things that hadn't yet been named and didn't need to be. In that world, the boundary between heaven and earth was thinner. Gods walked alongside mortals, not always visibly. Sometimes just as a wind that moved in the wrong direction, or a bird that watched you with too much intelligence, or a moment when time seemed to pause and you understood something you couldn't explain. It was into this world that the great emperor was born. He was called Yan Di, the Flame Emperor. His name meant fire, but not the fire of destruction, the fire of warmth, of transformation, of the hearth. He was the one who knelt beside rivers and watched the water moving, and understood which way to dig channels so the fields would drink. He was the one who walked into the forests alone and came back carrying plants he would spend years learning. Which ones healed fever, which ones eased pain, which ones could close a wound. He was the one who showed people how to save seed from the harvest and return it to the earth, so that what the land gave could be given back and given again. People followed him, not because he commanded them to, but because when they were near him, they felt safer. They felt more capable, as though his presence reminded them of something they already knew but had forgotten. He ruled for a long time, long enough that the mountains did settle somewhat, long enough that the names of rivers became fixed. And in all that time, among all the responsibilities he carried, all the knowledge he held, all the 1,000 decisions a ruler makes from morning to night, the thing that gave him the most peace was simple. It was a girl, his daughter, Nuwa. She was not named after the great goddess Nuwa, creator of humanity. This was a different girl with the same name, as though names themselves sometimes carry echoes of what a person might become. From the time she could walk, she was different. Not difficult, not strange, just awake in a way that most people aren't. She noticed things, the way a spider rebuilt its web after rain, in exactly the same pattern, in exactly the same location. As if the web existed somewhere the spider could always find it. The way certain birds sang different songs in the morning than they did at dusk. The way her father's shoulders changed shape depending on what kind of day he'd had. She was curious about everything. And the thing she was most curious about was the thing she couldn't see. Sometimes, late at night, when the palace was quiet, she would lie on her back in the garden and stare at the stars. And she would think about the edges of things, the edge of the forest, the edge of the empire, the edge of the known world. And beyond all of them, what was there? She had heard the servants talk about the Eastern Sea. Just its name was enough to make something move in her chest. A feeling she couldn't name. A pulling. She had never seen it, but she had dreamed of it. Dark water, enormous sky, a sound like the whole world exhaling. Let yourself sink a little deeper now. Feel the weight of your body, easy and full, against the bed. There is nothing you need to do. Know where you need to be. Just breathe and listen. Chapter 3. The life of Nuwa. Nuwa grew up inside palace walls, but she was never really a palace child. Her tutors taught her calligraphy, and she learned it. Her brushwork was precise and clean, but when the lesson was over, she would set down the brush and run to the garden, where she kept a collection of stones she'd found on the rare occasions she was allowed outside the gates. She arranged them by color, then by weight, then by texture. Then she rearranged them by some system she couldn't explain, just a feeling of which ones belonged together. She had a favorite tree in the palace garden, a pine older than any of the servants could remember. Its bark was rough as carved stone, and it leaked a slow, amber sap that hardened in the sun like cloudy glass. She would press her palm against it when she was thinking hard about something. She told no one this. It was just a thing she did. Her father knew she was restless. Fathers always know these things, even when they don't say them. He took her with him sometimes, on short journeys into the surrounding countryside, to inspect the rice fields, to visit the villages, to meet the farmers who fed the empire one careful season at a time. She loved these trips. She loved the smell of the earth after rain. She loved the way the villagers looked at her father, with something that was not quite worship and not quite fear, but something in between. Reverence, maybe. She stored all of it away, in that deep, quiet part of herself where she kept the things that mattered. As she grew older, the restlessness grew with her. It was not unhappiness. She was not unhappy. But there are people in the world who are built for something wider than what they're given, who feel the pull of the horizon not as discontent, but as direction, as instruction. Nua was one of those people. She began asking questions the tutors couldn't answer. What is at the edge of the eastern sea? How far does the sky go before it stops being sky? If you walked east until you couldn't walk anymore, what would you find? The tutors would clear their throats and redirect her to calligraphy. She would press her palm against the old pine tree and think about the ocean. One spring, she was perhaps 16, perhaps a little older. The old texts are not specific. She made up her mind. She didn't decide dramatically. There was no moment of declaration, no speech, no ceremony. She simply lay awake one night longer than usual, listening to the sounds of the palace settling into sleep around her, and knew with a quiet, certain part of herself, she was going to go. She was going to see the eastern sea. The next morning, before the household stirred, before even the earliest servants had lit the first fires, she rose. She dressed simply, packed very little. A small amount of food wrapped in cloth, a rough outer robe for cold mornings. She stood for a moment at the door of her room, looked back at the space she'd slept in all her life, the stone walls, the familiar window. She thought about leaving a note for her father. She decided against it. She would be back before he had time to worry. She stepped out into the grey pre-dawn, and she walked east. Let your shoulders drop now. Notice if you've been holding any tension there, without realizing. Let it go. Your breathing is slower now. That's good. Let the story carry you. Chapter 4. The long walk east. She walked for 3 days. The first day took her through the outer reaches of her father's lands. Terraced fields, small villages with smoke rising from morning fires, goats on hillsides, children who watched her pass from a safe distance. She walked steadily. Not fast, not slow. The pace of someone with a long way to go, and time enough to get there. The second day brought her into country she had never seen. The forests grew denser. The path she followed became thinner, less certain. Sometimes it disappeared entirely into beds of pine needles, and she had to choose her direction by the position of the sun. She was not afraid. She had expected this. She slept both nights under trees, wrapped in her outer robe, listening to the sounds the forest made in the dark. Owls, the creak of branches. Once, something large moving through the undergrowth nearby, its footfalls slow and deliberate. She lay still and watched the darkness where the sound had been. It passed. She slept. The third day, the landscape changed. The trees thinned. The ground became sandy underfoot, softer. The air took on a quality she didn't recognize. A weight to it, a density, as though it carried something extra. Salt. She didn't know that word yet, didn't know what it meant. But something in her body knew. Her heart beat a little faster. She came over a rise in the ground and stopped. Later, if she had been asked to describe it, she would have struggled. Not because it was indescribable, but because it was too large for words to hold without shrinking. The Eastern Sea. It filled the entire horizon. It swallowed the distance. The sky above it seemed taller than it did over land, as though the water pulled the heavens down closer to the earth. The color was nothing like she had imagined. She had imagined blue. It was not blue. It was a dark, deep green that shaded into gray-black in the distance, like the color of old jade, like the color of a moonless sky. And it moved, constantly, not just at the surface. She could feel it moving, feel it in some part of herself below her stomach. A low, slow pulse, like the heartbeat of something incomprehensibly large. She stood at the top of that rise for a long time, long enough for a cloud to cross the sun and return it, long enough for a bird to circle overhead 3 times and fly away. Then she walked down to the water. She crouched at the edge of the surf, where the waves came to their furthest reach, and paused, that one suspended moment before pulling back, and she pressed her fingers into the wet sand. Cold, impossibly cold, and the smell, up close, was extraordinary. She had never smelled anything like it. Wild and sharp and old, alive in a way that the forest was alive, but completely different. She sat there for a long time, just watching. The waves came in, pulled back, came in, pulled back, over and over, with no beginning and no end. She thought about her father, about the palace, about the old pine tree. She thought, I will go back, soon, and I'll tell him about this. And maybe one day I'll bring him here. She took off her shoes, and she stood up, and she walked into the water. Breathe, in and out. Feel the weight of your body, safe and held and warm. You are not in the water. You are here, in your bed, in the warmth. The story is moving, but you are still. Chapter 5. The storm. The water came up slowly. First her feet, then her ankles. The cold of it was sharp and bright, like a kind of clarity. She kept walking. The sand shifted beneath her feet with every step. The waves pushed against her, then pulled at her as they drew back, a gentle insistence. The water reached her knees, her hips. She was laughing, not loudly, quietly, almost to herself. A surprised, delighted sound. This was real. This enormous, cold, moving thing. It was real. She was inside it. She didn't notice the sky change. That is the thing about the sea. It teaches you to look outward at the horizon, and while you're looking there, it does what it intends to do. The wave that came was different from the others. There was no warning, No swell on the horizon that she might have seen if she'd been watching. Just a sound, suddenly, from behind her. A sound unlike anything she'd heard. Too large to process as sound at all. More of a pressure, a wall of air pushed ahead of something massive. She turned. She fought. She was strong. She was her father's daughter. She had spent years walking and working. And she fought with everything she had. She reached for the surface. She could see it, silver and rippling above her. She reached. She called out her father's name. Once. The sound disappeared before it left her. The eastern sea was enormous, and she was small, and the water closed. The surface settled, smooth, untroubled. The waves came in and pulled back, as they always had, as though nothing had happened at all. No one was there to see. No one was there to mourn. The shore was empty. The sea breathed in and out, and the sky turned. Chapter 6. What the spirit becomes. In the old traditions of China, there is an understanding about the soul. When a person dies peacefully, in their time, having completed what they came to do, the soul moves on, as souls do. But when a person is taken before their time, in the middle of something unfinished, with love and intention still fully alive inside them, the soul does not simply go. It remains, changed in form, but present. On the third morning after the sea took Nuwa, a bird appeared above the water. It came from the direction of the mountains to the west, flying low over the grey surface of the eastern sea. It was not a large bird, small enough to fit in 2 cupped hands, but it was striking. Its head was crowned with feathers of extraordinary color, iridescent green and deep blue, like the inside of a wave when the sun is in it just right. Rich and shifting, never quite the same color twice. Its beak was white, strong and sharp, built for carrying. Its feet were the red of embers at the center of a fire that has burned all night, the red of something that has decided not to go out. It flew over the water in long, slow circles, and as it flew, it made a sound. The ancient text says it sounded like it was speaking its own name. Jingwei, Jingwei, Jingwei. The fishermen who saw it from the shore said the sound made them feel something they couldn't name. Not sadness exactly. Something older than sadness. Something that acknowledged the unfairness of certain things without bitterness. A kind of clear-eyed grief. They called the bird Jingwei, and they watched it fly. The bird Jingwei remembered. This is the thing that distinguished her from every other bird that flew above that sea. She remembered the cold of the water on her feet. She remembered the feeling of discovering something real and vast for the first time in her life. She remembered her father's face, the softness in it, early in the morning before the day's work had begun. Before he put on the emperor's face. She remembered the old pine tree, the rough bark against her palm. She remembered all of it. And from that remembering came a decision. Not anger. The texts do not describe anger. Something quieter than anger and more durable. A purpose. Let your body be heavy now. Fully heavy. Let your legs sink into the mattress. Let your arms rest completely. There is nowhere you need to go. You are here, breathing, safe. Just listen. Chapter 7. The Vow. She flew west to the mountains, called Faju Shan, the mountain where the pheasants call. It rose from the land in layers of grey and green, its slopes covered with loose, pale stones and bent, wind-shaped trees. She landed on the rocky ground, looked around her at the stones, selected one, small, rough-edged, heavy for its size. She took it in her beak carefully and lifted off, flew east. The wind helped her on some sections, hindered her on others. She flew steadily, neither hurrying nor stopping. When she reached the eastern sea, she released the stone. It fell, hit the surface, and was swallowed without ceremony. She turned and flew west again. This is what Jingwei did, every day. She did not think, as she flew, about how long it would take. She did not do the calculation that a human mind would compulsively do. How many stones? How many trips? How many thousands of years? She did not make herself small with the enormity of it. She simply flew. The seasons were indifferent to her mission. Winter came. The wind across the mountains became brutal. A wind with edges in it. A wind that had traveled a long way to be that cold. Ice formed on the rocks of Faju Shan. The stones she carried were rimmed with frost. She flew anyway. Spring came. The mountain bloomed in colors she had loved once, as a human, and still noticed, still felt something about, as a bird. Pale plum blossoms on the lower slopes. The vivid, almost painful green of new growth. She flew through it. Summer brought heat that rose from the stones in waves. The sea glittered differently in summer. Sharper, more aggressive, the light on it hard as metal. She flew over it. Autumn reddened the hillsides. The wind changed direction and carried the smell of rain that hadn't arrived yet. The stones on Faju Shan were damp with morning mist. She flew, year after year, decade after decade. The world changed around her, and she remained. Empires rose in the valleys below. Farmers planted and harvested and planted again. Cities grew up in places that had been forest when she was a girl. Children were born, became old, and died. Their children grew old and died. And their children's children. Jingwei flew, stone by stone, twig by twig, the mountain to the sea, the mountain to the sea, the mountain to the sea. There is something in this rhythm that settles the mind, the repetition of a thing done with intention, back and forth, back and forth. Let your breath find that rhythm if it wants to. In and out, in and out. Chapter 8. The sea speaks. The sea had been watching her for a long time before it spoke. Seas are patient in a way that is difficult to understand if you have never stood at the edge of one and felt your smallness. The Eastern Sea had existed before Nuwa was born. It would exist long after every person who ever knew her name was gone. It did not worry about time, but something about the bird irritated it. Not the stones. The stones were nothing. A pebble dropped into the Eastern Sea made no more difference than a grain of sand caught in the current. What irritated the sea was the intention behind them, the refusal to accept the obvious, the flying and flying and flying, without discouragement. One morning, as Jingwei passed over the surface with a stone in her beak, the water below her shifted, and something that was the sea, and also a voice, said, "Little bird." Jingwei hovered. She looked down at the dark, moving water. "Do you know how large I am?" The sea spread itself to every horizon. Its depths went down further than light could reach. Do you know how long I have been here? I existed before your emperor. I will exist after every mountain on this earth has worn down to flat land. Jingwei said nothing. 1 stone. You bring me 1 stone. Do you know how many stones it would take to fill me? The number was too large to say, too large to think. You could fly every moment of every day until the sun burns out and the sky goes dark. You would not fill me. Not even close. Not even close to close. Silence. Only the wind and the water and the small sound of a bird's wings. And then Jingwei spoke. Her voice was small. It was a bird's voice, but it was steady. Then I will fly until the sun burns out. You are a fool, the sea said. Then I am a fool, she said, and I will keep flying. The sea was quiet, because the sea understood something, in that moment, that it had not understood before. This was not stubbornness. This was not rage, or grief, or obsession, though it contained all of those. It was something purer. The sea, for all its age and size, had never loved anything. It had never had a father. It had never run through a forest in the early morning. It had never pressed its palm against a tree and felt something unnamed in return. It had no concept of what it meant to do something, not because you expected to succeed, but because the doing itself was all you had left of who you used to be. Jingwei released the stone. It fell into the dark water, and she turned west and flew. Chapter 9. What endures? The Chinese have a phrase. Yu ji zhe shi jing cheng. Yu ji zhe shi jing cheng. It means, roughly, where there is will, in the end, things are accomplished. But I think the story of Jingwei is about something even older than that. Something that doesn't require the accomplishment. Think of the people you have known in your life. Or perhaps you are one of them, who have worked at something without the guarantee of outcome, who have raised children without knowing who those children would become, who have built things without knowing if they would last, who have loved people without knowing if that love would be returned, or received, or remembered, who have continued quietly in the direction of something they believed in, not because they were certain, but because continuing was the most honest thing they knew how to do. Jingwei is for them. Jingwei has always been for them. The old texts say she is still flying. On certain mornings, they say, just before sunrise, when the sky is that particular shade between night and day, you can see a small shape moving across the horizon from west to east. So small, it might be a trick of the light. But it isn't. She's still flying, still carrying her stones, one at a time, the mountain to the sea, the mountain to the sea. And somewhere, perhaps, an old emperor is still waiting in a garden, standing beside a pine tree, his hand against the bark, watching the eastern sky. Chapter 10. The sleep now. Let the story settle around you, like water finding its level. There is no more you need to do tonight. No more thinking, no more planning, no more remembering what you forgot, or wondering what comes next. All of that belongs to tomorrow. Tonight belongs to rest. Feel the weight of your head on your pillow. Feel the warmth of the blanket across your body. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. so steady, so faithful, rising and falling without you having to ask it to. Your body knows how to do this. It has been doing it your whole life. You can trust it. Somewhere very far away, there is a sea, and above it, a small bird is flying. She is not tired. She has never been tired. She will fly all night while you sleep. She will still be flying when you wake. There is something restful in that. To know that the work continues without you. That the world does not need you to be awake right now. That you can let go. Let your eyes be heavy. Let your thoughts become softer, less defined, like ink dropped in water, spreading out until it's no longer a shape. The mountain to the sea. The mountain to the sea. In and out. Jingwei is flying. You are resting. That is exactly how it should be. Good night.
散去冷漠，坠在底座的淡漠，中立的自己侧重，提供性，惊动性，贵在从深度梦，乘着安定静的梦，过对情深的情，坠在静坐的梦，隔满每个对头心的刺痛，并在心上的静，垂在静坐的梦，重